we are, back again, 2 weeks in a row. We've got a new, not a record, but not far from a record of recording this little thing we like to call background noise.
It might be back to when we first. Oh yeah, that's loud. Let me.
That's not background noise. Oh yeah, that thing doesn't work.
That's foreground noise.
There we go. Foreground noise. The side project.
People will have the two people who listen to this will have their headphones on and they'll go, God damn!
That's right. They'll be ripping them off.
It can be even lower than
Oh,
that.
God damn it. You just said headphones. That reminds me, I still need to follow up on getting Alan his headphones. Alan, if you're listening, I've not forgotten. I mean, I did forget, but now I remember.
Does Alan listen to this?
I don't know. There's always a chance. Who are you saying are two listeners? Tommy, obviously. Do you have another consistent listener?
Someone I don't know, I'm sure.
Sure. Well, my father-in-law used to listen, but I don't think he knows that we've re-upped.
He used to listen?
My father-in-law used to listen. I mean, listen is a relative term. I think he would have it, like, playing as he was working, but I'm not sure he would necessarily be engaged.
I would hope not. It's background noise.
Well, yeah, in multiple ways, it's background noise.
But here we are, watching Porco Rosso.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention.
As
Porco
promised
Rosso.
last week.
That's right. We did tease this one, didn't we?
The typing you heard at the beginning was the introduction part of the film, where our character's story is kind of set in text form over in 4 or 5 different languages.
Fabrizio, you insisted that this be
In
its
Japanese.
native Japanese tongue,
Even though we are...
opposed to the English dub.
Yes, I've listened to the English dub.
It's not a good dub.
It's not great. No, I would say that...
What do you judge that on? What are your qualifications for whether or not a dub is satisfactory?
I don't usually like dubs to begin with.
Sure.
And I think with the Miyazaki films, oftentimes I find that sometimes the voice acting in the English version is flat.
Sure. See, that's it for me. Yeah, it's all about and sometimes the characterization is, the casting of their English voice actor is not suited to the original intention of the character.
Yeah. No, I agree. Can I lower the volume from here?
Yeah, just drag down.
God, it won't let me.
There you go. You want it lower?
Yeah.
It's really, really background noise. Almost imperceptible noise.
Ow,
for today.
ow, this cat is killing me.
Yeah, he does that.
Do that again and I'll murder you.
Oh, what's even worse is you got to stand guard on that space bar. My kitten may step on the movie, pause the film, and then the whole thing's gone to shit.
Yeah.
We'll be out of sync.
I think we started a second late anyway. We're out of sync already.
All right, it's a lost cause.
Yeah, there's no point in trying. Still.
So Porco Rosso is the tale of a
man pig.
man pig.
He's a
Is
man.
he a man pig or is he just a pig?
No, he's a man who was turned into a pig.
Oh, okay. There's like explanation that I
No.
saw this film
There's no explanation.
when I was a child. It's funny that because as soon as I realized it was a Miyazaki film, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this, but I don't remember it at all. So this will be a nice, kind of a nice way actually to revisit it, watching it, but not really engaging with it.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all as a child. I saw, because I had all those Disney VHSs growing up, and they would always have the coming soon to theaters or coming
Right.
home tone on DVD and video. And they, at some point, I guess Disney did do they did the North American releases of a lot of Miyazaki films,
Right.
the Studio Ghibli films.
Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service.
And
so on so
Porco
forth.
Rosso was always one of the films mentioned, and I always thought, I want to watch that. I want to see this movie about this man pig who flies a little seaplane.
Yeah,
And I never saw it as a kid. Never did. I saw it for the first time maybe last year.
with Tommy.
No, that was the 5th time I'd seen it.
Oh God, you really went hard once you got queued up on it.
Yeah. The first time I saw it, I just saw it randomly because I was like, okay, they got all the Ghibli films on HBO now. I'll go through them.
Time to revisit.
I watched Porco Rosso, was moved to tears by it. I thought, this is beautiful. This is amazing. This is
This
sensational.
is cinema.
And so I proceeded to watch it 4 more times. A second time by myself
Okay.
with the English dub on. And then I
Sure.
thought it was so bad
Makes
that
sense.
halfway through I'm like, no, fuck it, we're going back to Japanese. And so
Halfway through the movie.
yeah, I'm like, no, this isn't getting good. So, but in Japanese, it makes a difference. It's much better. Third time, I saw it with my dad, my father. My father forced him to watch
A
it.
joke I still don't feel like I'm in on, but I've participated in enough points now
You're in on it.
that I feel grandfathered in. Your father.
God, you know, that cocaine's in my throat now.
How does it feel?
I hate it.
Well,
I did it for you.
you have no one to blame but yourself.
No, I blame you.
I gave you a polite invitation. I did not twist you. In fact, if anything, I twisted your arm the other way.
You know,
I tried to force you out the door.
I don't know why you hate the idea that I do things for you, but I do.
Because, yeah,
I'm not hanging it over your head.
You're not doing me any. Because it doesn't affect me. I just don't want you doing something and feeling like, oh, Isaac will appreciate this. Because, to be completely honest with you, I feel nothing about it. It has no impact on my feeling toward you.
Well, good. So I'm suffering in silence for nothing.
Exactly.
Because of you.
But not because of
No,
me.
it's because of you. So good job.
Self-imposed.
Look what you are. Look what you did to me.
Self-imposed suffering.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
You said the third time was with your father.
The fourth time was with a woman of questionable morals.
Okay. Ill repute?
No.
Just morals.
Yeah.
All right.
She didn't like Woody Allen as much as I did. Those are bad morals as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was the fourth time, and the fifth time was with Tommy.
In his bedroom
Yes.
in New York City.
Yes.
What neighborhood is Tommy in now?
He's in, I forget what part of Brooklyn, honestly. I walked there.
Some subset of Brooklyn.
Yeah, where was that? He would know. He's gonna listen to this. Go like, hey, it's that place. You know, it's gonna.
Above the
It's
Chinese food
Flatbush
restaurant.
or something. It's not
Sure.
Flatbush, but yeah, I forget. It's a nice little part of town.
Yeah, I gotta get over to the new apartment.
You haven't been?
No, the last time I was when he was, not Harlem, but near Harlem, whatever that, like uptown place.
No, that was Harlem.
That was Harlem.
Pretty
Then,
much.
The last time I saw him was at his Harlem apartment.
Yeah, but and that's a cat.
Yeah, that's gonna be part of the background noise now. Not part of the film, but part of the background noise. That's the nice thing about this, though. It's not called background film. Background noise.
No, there's-
so
yeah.
anything qualifies.
There's the dog.
This time I did think to turn off the heater, so
Oh.
hopefully that won't be a factor. But yeah, the pets are unavoidable.
What is the cat meowing about anyway?
Nothing. He just likes to talk.
But yeah, I saw this and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It's a wonderful film, I think, about a man's love of aviation. The man being Miyazaki.
That is beautiful. Not the man pig.
Well, he loves to fly too, but he's really.
He's an embodiment of
I think Miyazaki.
Miyazaki's
Yeah,
own passions.
yeah, absolutely. I think Miyazaki maybe himself thinks of himself as a man pig.
That's a nice thought.
I saw pretty much every other Miyazaki film as well, to kind of finally get to do that, to get
Sure,
through
sure.
it and say I've seen the movies, I can say, qualify which ones I think are the best. Outside of this one and the other plane movie,
Which is
The Wind Rises,
Never seen that one.
it's like the last film he did, which was at this point 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
And
He's alive? He's just not making films anymore?
he's actually making a film.
Oh, he
He's
is?
been working on a
Look at
film
that.
for a good 7 years now.
Okay.
He retired for like 5 years.
Got it.
And then said, "No, I'm bored. I'm going to do another one."
How funny how often that happens.
Yeah, and so he's working on another one he's been working on it almost nonstop for a good 7 years, because they're doing traditional animation, and it just the rate at which they've been working.
And the talent pool for that is not what it used to be.
But it's supposed to come out sometime this year, maybe.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be the first Miyazaki film in again over 10 years. That's something.
That is something.
And I think by extension, the first Studio Ghibli film since the last one I think was by his son. I think he did a Ghibli film, or maybe that wasn't even with Ghibli. Anyway, it'll be.
So
good.
you're not
I'm not the biggest fan.
of the hit, quote unquote hits like Spirited Away or Kiki's Delivery Service or Princess
Mononoke.
Mononoke.
No, I'm not the biggest fan of them.
Fair enough.
They were all. Here's the thing: the way I rank them, or at least it's not an official kind of declaration, but I've noticed the best ones tend to be the ones with the most flying in them. The more
Okay.
flying there is in a film of his, the better the film.
So Spirited Away climbs the list of the lowers then? Or I guess, there's a lot of flying in general. Kiki's Delivery Service also has a choreography.
Yes, there's levels. Okay, so I would put this one is the best one.
Sure.
This is Porco Rosso is Miyazaki's masterpiece.
Sure.
Anyone who
It's just
disagrees,
the magnum opus. Got it.
anyone who disagrees is a phony, a bastard.
They're not a phony.
They're a bastard,
They're a bastard.
and probably anti-Semitic. So that's the best one. And then The Wind Rises is close. It's relatively close because that's a film all about a man who just loves designing planes, and he's dreaming up. He has these dreams of aviation, dreams of perfect planes, and they're wonderful. It's a lovely film. It's actually based. It's pretty much loosely, I should say, because it is animated and there's flights of fancy in it. But it's about a real person, a person who lived, who was a Japanese engineer, and it's about his life.
Flight enthusiast.
Yes. Well, yeah, he was a man. He wanted to fly, but he couldn't because of certain vision problems, I guess. So he just became an engineer instead. And the film is he's a real life guy who's pretty important to Japanese engineering.
Beautiful story.
Yeah, it's lovely, and it follows his life story relatively faithfully, I'd say.
So I'm curious, did you see any of the Miyazaki films as a young man?
Kiki's Delivery Service was the
As a
only
child,
one.
yeah.
I saw that one growing up in an English dub.
It's interesting maybe that the nostalgia factor doesn't come into play for you then.
No, it doesn't,
I feel
because I felt nothing watching it as a child.
Fair enough. Then
I didn't dislike it. It was nice, but it was like,
It just
okay.
didn't captivate you.
No, it didn't. It's that simple.
Because I felt that, because I recently rewatched Spirited Away
Yeah?
and had the feeling that I'm like, I remember this being earth shattering, or not earth shattering, but mind opening,
Yes.
mind boggling.
It was a revelation.
A revelation,
of
thank you.
some
That's a
kind.
great term. And watching it as an adult, appreciating the artistry, but being a little more like,
Yeah.
it's not really saying as much as I thought it was saying profoundly as a child. But I think the nostalgia factor still keeps it in a very high estimation. For me, it's Kiki's Delivery Service. That said, like I noted earlier, haven't seen Porco Rosso since I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. So this may launch it back up. Or not this, but when I actually watch it. That's been a present, as we were discussing earlier, that's been a consistent theme is every time we watch one of these that I haven't seen before, which is, say, 85 to 90% of them, my reaction is, oh wow, this looks like a good film. I should actually watch it sometime. But I think I've only done that once.
Just
And that's
like
the great tragedy of background noise.
Just like the American pilot in this scene, listen to the music. Let's listen to the music for a second and shut the fuck up. Oh, it's over. Well,
It's bad timing.
that was bad timing. She sings a lovely song in French.
I did hear the French.
Yeah.
Madame Gina.
Madame Gina. She runs the bar. It's a bar. It's kind of like a, I guess it could be a hotel too.
I think
for
it
all I
said
know.
hotel on the outside.
Yes, the Hotel Adriano, I believe is the name, which is important. It comes up later in the film why it's called that. It's
Okay.
actually quite romantic and moving and made me cry a little bit. But yes, it's she's kind of she's the great madam that everyone in this world, in the lore of Porco Rosso, there are seaplane pirates,
Right.
and they do pirate stuff, but in seaplanes. And Porco Rosso is oftentimes a hired mercenary to take down the pirates or to bring back the money that they stole or stuff like that. And he's the
I
best.
see.
He's the best pilot. The pirates are in Madame Gina's place, and they are conspiring to take down Porco Rosso by hiring this American pilot, who is I think half Italian. Because technically speaking, even though it's in Japanese, it takes place in Italy.
Oh, dear
So- It's important to note.
God, I warned you. Oh my God. It seems like
I hate your cat.
I know he's ruining it. It seems like
No, you're not. You're getting off.
what's the hotel called in the John Wick franchise?
Oh, that's the Continental.
It seems like the Adrian, what's it called?
Adriano. I
The
believe.
Adriano walked so that John Wick could run. I'm noticing a similar theme of all the conflict is left at the door.
Well, they do. Yes, they do it out of respect for Gina. They all
Sure.
respect her. She's a real lady, and so they, out of respect for her and her establishment, they agree to not do business on her grounds.
Is she a madam in the biblical sense, or just a madam?
No, not in the biblical sense. She's just a woman of great respect,
She's
and
a
everyone
classy
knows her.
lady.
She's been married, as she explains in this scene. She's been married 3 times to pilots,
You see,
and they just found the body of the last husband, her last husband, even though in Bengal. Yes.
found the wreckage in Bengal.
And she's known Porco here for years. I forget his. She refers to him by his real name at one point. I forget what it is, even though I've seen it 5
Porco
times.
Rosso is not his real name.
No, that's just his give. That's what he's known as because he is literally the Crimson Pig.
I see.
Because he is a man pig and his seaplane is crimson, red.
I see. It's his call sign.
Yes, he is Porco Rosso.
old days.
Yes, as they explain in the film, they've known each other for a long time, and a lot of her, the group that they were with, including her husbands, basically, they were all friends at one point.
I see.
So they've known each other for years, and the history of the region is important in this film because, again,
Which is a fictional region, presumably.
yes, I mean it's Italy. It is Italy, and they do bring up real world events like the rise of fascism in Italy at this time. You know and Porco does not like the fascists, and so he chooses not to fly for the fascist league, basically for Mussolini's regime.
So the next time you call someone a fascist pig, think twice.
Exactly. Well, that's a line in the film. He says at one point, he says, "I'd rather be a pig than a fascist."
That's great. Great line.
Yeah, it is a great line. It's one of the lines of the film, honestly.
This feels like relevant viewing for me today, as I've just reacquired my pilot license privileges
Oh yeah.
as of this afternoon for the unmanned aircraft, or to the common man, the layman, the drone flying.
All right. Tell us about that.
Surprisingly irrelevant test knowledge, I will say. The things that you're expected to know, I would say about 75% of them have nothing to do with anything that you would need to encounter while flying an unmanned aircraft.
Right.
Things like the landing patterns on runways of planes. I'm like, I don't see how that would be relevant unless I was flying near an airport, which you're not allowed to do anyway. So I don't know why it's relevant knowledge.
So technically speaking, it's a pilot's license, but you, for example, could not.
You need to have general airman's knowledge, as they phrase it, but most of it does not apply to what you would be doing with a drone, because
Right.
the drone laws are much more restrictive, as they should be.
But for example, what I mean is, even though you technically have a pilot's license, you couldn't actually fly a manned aircraft.
Oh, certainly not.
So it's really not
certainly
even a pilot's license.
Except it is.
In the literal sense
In the legal sense, you are a pilot of an unmanned aircraft.
but only that
in the-
specifically.
Correct. Yes. They're not letting me into the pilot's lounge at O'Hare with my little Part 107 ID card.
I feel comfortable and safe knowing that.
Yes, it's good. I wouldn't want me near a plane either. I think that because a friend of mine's brother is going through proper flight school, and I think the hour requirements are pretty insane. It's something like 2,000 hours of monitored flight time before you can take the test. I certainly don't have anywhere near that, nor would I seek that out. I don't think. Would you ever take up piloting as a hobby? Like
Yes.
a Harrison Ford type?
Absolutely. I would do it later in life, probably.
Sure.
I mean, I guess I should start it now. Who knows if I have the time. But I don't have the time.
No.
But
Or the
I remember where exactly, which it could be a little apocryphal. It's not. I know this happened, but it was Kurt Russell was either on Craig Ferguson, The Late Late Show, or Craig Ferguson was talking with Kurt Russell once. I forget if I saw that episode, the one he references, or if I just remember telling the story. But he basically says that for the longest time he had a fear of flying, because Kurt Russell is also a pilot. He's a licensed pilot. He can fly an aircraft.
Sure.
And a personal aircraft. And Craig Ferguson says to him, I would love to do it, but I have a real fear of flying. And Kurt Russell says to him, you don't have a fear of flying. You're just a control freak. And so what you need is to learn how to fly a plane so that you can get control of it and feel safe in it.
So I was talking about fear of flying commercially.
Yes.
I see.
And so I guess maybe in theory that's what I have as well, which is I have a control problem.
Do you have a fear of commercial flights?
I
anxiety around them?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
I've
interesting.
never.
I didn't know that.
I'm never. Yes, you did.
I don't think I did, because you globetrot a lot.
I do, but every time it's a nauseating experience for me. I'm never comfortable on an air. Even thinking about it makes my palms sweaty. If I'm on a plane, I am from the moment it takes off to the moment it lands. I feel I'm in a death chamber. You know.
That's bleak, especially for 14-hour flights.
Yes, of which I've had multiple in my
Yeah.
life, and I'm going to take another 7-8 hour flight in 4 months
To Germany.
And so my plan this time is to actually get sleeping pills ready. By the time
Smart
we
man.
land, so when we start up, by the time we're in the air really, and kind of at a stable
ready to pass
altitude, I'm out,
That'll be nice.
and I'll be out for at least 6 of those hours, hopefully, because I don't want to wake up. I
It's
don't
hard
want
to be anxious when you're asleep.
It is. I want to dream happy thoughts and only wake up if we're crashing and be like, okay, well I gotta.
And then you can be at peace with it.
Yeah.
So what's interesting for me, so I also have some flight anxiety, but the one instance being in a plane that I did not have flight anxiety, which I think is kind of the same logic behind it. I did in California at one point the what is it called, where you just like that you drift, like there's no engine to the plane.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Glide plane, I think.
Yeah.
Where you get like towed up and released and just kind of float down.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think that was not anxious for me is like the moment that you are up in the air, you are crashing just very, very slowly and controlled.
Yes, it's not dangerous necessarily.
Right, exactly.
Or it doesn't feel that way.
Right, there's not necessarily anything, obviously there is something that could go
I have that radio at home.
technically wrong.
Yeah.
But the point is that everything has gone technically wrong and you're just trying to bring it down.
Right.
So that was soothing for me. You have that radio?
Yeah, at home. We have a very similar kind of radio in our basement.
It's a very cool looking, would you call that mid-century modern or?
Mid-century. This is in the 20s.
So, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know what the word is for that. It's not Art Deco.
It is kind of Art Deco, no?
I guess the design. I don't know if the Art Deco was
Art
really
Deco's
a
the
school.
term I was looking for.
Is if it's really a
Either
school for radios. You know what I mean? I don't know if
Sure.
it complies to furniture and to interior design. Tommy would know better than we would actually.
I would say that radio at the time of that era, though, a radio would be considered furniture.
Sure, but I don't know if that design specifically is an Art Deco design. I
Fair
guess
enough.
it is. It's got the roundness to it.
It does. It's got
the
those kind of like
shape.
empirical
But they're usually also wooden,
vertical lines.
which is not very Art Deco.
That's
Wood is
true.
not very common
That's
Art Deco
true.
designs.
But with the bronze, or not bronze, brass
Yeah, maybe,
accents.
maybe.
Tommy, weigh in.
Yes, right now I command it.
That's right. Speaking of, did you receive any response to the last episode that was uploaded? Has our fan base had a chance?
Well, Tommy
to
texted us.
engage?
You didn't?
I didn't see that.
Oh, he
What
said
did
it was the
say?
best one yet.
All right, we're on a roll. I'm calling it season 3. But
You're
it
calling
doesn't
it
matter.
season 3, even though we've been doing this for close to 7-8 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not consistently.
No, but I don't know if we could bring this up now, but
Yes,
I was talking to you about so the way it's worked the last few times. This is a really looking at inside the glue factory here, how it's prepared here. But
Behind the scenes.
behind the scenes, the last few times we've done this over the last few years, really, what's happened is we've usually recorded it on one of your audio capturing devices,
Correct.
and then you email me the audio, and I simply do very little editing to it, quite frankly.
Sure.
I just kind of put it into another format and then upload it onto
Give
YouTube.
it a visual to go along with.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Very minimal. And this last time you sent it to me via Dropbox
Correct.
to my Gmail, it went into spam, and it took me a day to realize because I was expecting you to give it to me, and then you said you did, and I hadn't seen it, and I thought, where the hell is it? And then eventually I went into the spam folder and saw it there, and we both had the same reaction, which is, why is what you're sending to me in the spam folder? Especially since you've sent me other stuff over
Right.
the years that did
Exactly.
not go to spam.
I should be a reliable source in Gmail's eyes.
And so we came to the conclusion that, when I came to the conclusion, thinking about it, that there were several episodes we've recorded in the last few years that you sent me in a similar way that was never uploaded, probably because it went to spam and I never realized that I got it.
Herefore referred to as the lost,
Lost episodes. There are at least 2 that I can recall, lost episodes that we have recorded that when I looked at our channel, I don't think they were up.
They're not there.
They're not there, those episodes. So we got to try and find them.
We have located one, Sign
That's
of the
true.
Times.
Sign of the Times. Last year we recorded an episode where we watched Prince's Sign of the Times concert and talked about God knows what.
Sign of the Times is still here.
Because the last episode that was officially recorded prior to last week's that was uploaded was the Rainy Day in New York one from 3. You weren't involved in this
Okay,
one.
I was gonna say.
This was Tommy and myself doing this
Sounds
3
like a
years
guest
ago.
host. Okay.
That was
Do you
the
have
last.
that one?
That's uploaded.
It's online. All
That
right.
was the last one that was
I
officially
didn't,
uploaded.
I didn't know that there was a Rainy Day in New York.
Well, of course, because when you're not involved, you conceited fuck, you don't want to listen to the episodes.
I would love to listen.
It's
to
very
this.
good. I honestly, genuinely think it's very good.
I
because
think Tommy's the better co-host anyway.
he would disagree with you.
But
I'm the only one who could, in theory, be objective about this because I am the only
you're the one who's
consistent
worked
host.
Worked with both, yeah.
Well,
I've never worked with Tommy.
I've worked by myself, and I've worked with you, and I've worked with Tommy, and Really, I should try and find someone else.
You should. You should. Guest
But
hosts.
I will say, of the two of you, I've only done it twice with Tommy,
Sure.
and I've done it however many times we've done it, probably like 10 at least,
Yeah.
of the 19 that are officially been released. Probably no, wait, more than that. More like, let me do the math. 13.
Sure.
We've probably done 13 together because I've done a couple by myself.
Yes.
3 at the most, and then 2 with Tommy. So that would be about right. So I would say of the two of you, it's easier to do it with you, even though you seem to have real anxiety around this thing, because I can usually say something and you'll refer to something else, and and I think Tommy and I are too similar.
You guys get stuck in a loop.
No. I just think he and I are so similar that sometimes we'll say things without explaining them.
Oh, sure.
And so there's a
You go too
context that's
shorthanded.
lost. Yeah, it's too
That is
shorthanded.
good. Yeah, that I definitely bring the what's the word? The uninitiated
Yes.
perspective to most of these.
One of my closest friends, folks, and yet how close are we really?
Exactly.
But if you want to know where we are at the plot at this moment,
Yeah. Let's check in with the background noise.
yeah. So at this point, Porco has been shot down. His plane has been shot down by the American,
Oh, the one, the
one-
mercenary that they've hired.
the one who was hired to take down Porco, but he couldn't. He shot him down, and he found a piece of wood from his plane. So his plane was all shot to hell. But Porco survived. The plane's fucked up, so now he's going to go to Milan to repair it. And there's a whole section of the film, which is really quite nice, which initiates not the second half, but certainly the real crux of the film starts after this point, where he goes to Milan, he gets his plane fixed up. All the fascist stuff is brought up in that section.
Okay.
And then he also meets this young heroine, we could say, who essentially becomes a kind of co-pilot for him
Okay.
for the rest of the film. She's this young girl who's maybe 17 years old or something like that, and she is basically, because it takes place during the war, it's not really specified which war it is.
Okay. Just the war.
Yes, I think it's a civil war going on. It's
Okay.
like between the royalists and the new fascists, something like that.
Okay. So he was able to clearly recover the majority of his plane.
Yes, the bulk of it is it's just shot to hell. It needs to be fixed, but it's all there.
Sure.
And because of the situation with the war, most of the men are out working in the farmland or out in the front, right?
Sure.
So all the city people are women who are working in the factories and everything. And so this young girl, this 17-year-old who's come back from America, is the one who helps to redesign the plane.
Okay.
And she captures her spirit and her gumption.
Is this her?
Yes, there she is. And her spirit and gumption kind of charms Porco to the point where she joins him on his adventures.
Really?
For the rest of the film.
She becomes the Robin to his Batman.
In a sense, there's and it's not necessarily romantic. It is for her a little bit more because she has a kind of childish crush on him,
Sure.
and he's more like, please, child.
Because that's the decent thing to do.
Well, he plays with it a little bit. He doesn't.
Because you don't take advantage of young women who have confusing feelings about you. You're the mature adult.
I want to say this now. Woody Allen is innocent of all crimes he's been accused of.
We can't get away from it tonight. We've spent, would you say, collectively an hour debating this at this point?
2, I'd say.
And your position has moved how many inches?
Even further
In the opposite direction.
in the opposite direction.
Good stuff.
I
For the record, my position is unmoved.
I know. I think of you as the loyal opposition,
Yeah, okay.
which is a line in a Woody Allen film, of course. Do you know the line?
No.
Stardust Memories, which is my favorite. Well, that might have changed, but one of my favorite Woody Allen films. At one point, he's making a movie about one of the character he plays is a director who's kind of stuck in a rut. He doesn't want to make funny movies anymore, and he's trying to make something more artistically, in his mind, valid.
Sure.
And at one point, one of his producers says, no one wants to see a movie. It's Easter. It's going to be Easter soon or something. No one wants to see a movie about a goddamn atheist. And he's like, to you, I'm an atheist. To God, I'm the loyal opposition.
That's a great line.
It is a great line.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, he's. Oh yeah, we can both agree on that. He's a really good writer.
He knows how to write.
Yeah, funny man.
What am I doing here? I should be in New York writing riddles on popsicle sticks. Then I'd be a real writer.
My God, he's like a young me. Oh please, young me was a hack compared to this guy.
Great fucking stuff.
One could make a whole.
There's a supercut in
of
the
Woody Allen
Woody
appearances.
Allen appearances in The Simpsons. He has a few.
It's more than you'd think.
It is more than you would think. There's at least 4.
Clearly, the writers like him, or they
So,
like
yes,
they
exactly,
find him
yeah,
funny.
They find him
Well,
amusing.
the ones who were working before
Well, I mean, not that long ago, there was a whole Woody Allen spoof episode.
of Annie Hall,
That's right.
right? Which I never saw. I'm sure I would not like it that much.
You would only like the end when he appears, which I think you have seen, the clip.
But it's not really Woody Allen.
Well, no, but like, it's not, because most of the episode is Bart's character is Woody Allen, and then at the end, the Simpsons version of Woody Allen appears, and he has that joke about ants that I frequently and lovingly quote.
Is he referred to as Woody Allen in the film or in the show, or is it just
He comes.
he has a different name?
Well, no, he comes on at the end. He's like, this is like one of my movies. This is classic Woody Allen. They're like, Woody Allen? Who's Woody Allen? He's like, I was in Ants, the less popular of the ant movies.
That's right. That is true. That's exactly the best way to describe it. Because I remember
There's one thing people know him from.
It's ants. I do bring that up quite constantly. Youch, is a key line.
It is the if you put any stock in
We should
Rotten
watch
Tomatoes,
Ants
which many
one
people
year.
do not, to fair credit. But if you put any stock in Rotten Tomatoes, it is the more critically well received of the ant films.
That is true. That was true at the time when
It's
it
just
came
less
out.
popular.
I think Roger Ebert wrote a pretty good review of it.
Yeah, he did.
Where he talked about how it was definitely it was the insect movie more for the adult crowd.
Exactly.
Or there was more crossover for it than
Exactly.
with Bugs Life, which felt more kiddish.
And then B Movie took it far the other direction.
It truly did.
Yeah.
So where's Larry David's insect theme film? We got Jerry Seinfeld, we got Woody Allen.
We need another neurotic bug film.
Yeah,
I
we need
agree.
by a great Jewish comedian.
By a great Jewish comedian.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
We're waiting. That's the cat again.
Jesus Christ, cat. You're killing me.
I don't know. I don't think the cocaine helped us here.
Oh, for me, certainly. I think this is the most I've talked in any of these episodes.
I feel my breathing has become more labored.
It sounds unhealthy.
It is. That's why I don't usually do it.
Yeah, what is funny for me is like no matter what the substance is, the one consistent, I guess other than perhaps alcohol, the one consistent thing for me is that it just makes me clench my jaw.
Yes. I don't have the same
That's
reaction,
not a
but
good,
yeah, it's bad for you.
Well, it's not like that's not a feeling I crave. So like, what is the?
Yeah, I understand.
It's not a positive.
I
effect.
find that was the cat. I am gonna learn to tolerate you, but at some point in time, not today. But what was I saying before that shot of pain in my leg?
I don't know, but I'm stuck on the I will learn to tolerate. I think that that sounds like the title of like a
No.
a workplace
Oh, there we go.
a workplace diversity training.
I have found. I know what I was gonna say. I have found that my reaction to most drugs is the opposite of their intended reaction, which I don't know what that says. That's pretty consistent with my personality.
Well, yeah, I was going to
Not
say,
the coat.
I think Alan has said this to you, and I tend to agree with it. I think that it is in your nature to resist the intended effect of them, and that spoils your experience, whether intentional or not.
I disagree.
I think you're so intent on not having it affect you, or not having it visibly affect you, that you have again. I think it's an issue of control. You have difficulty just letting yourself go for the ride.
I find that
Is my outside opinion.
I find that this white powder that's supposed to be shot up your nose tends to make me very sleepy.
Delicious nose clams.
Yeah. Does that people call it that?
It's a Always Sunny reference.
Oh, see, that keeps coming up. That
You
show.
should watch it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's got some great moments.
Over the course of how many seasons?
Well, okay, it's got some great moments over the course of 7 seasons, and it has another 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Is how I feel personally.
So the first 7 are the good
Watch
ones.
the first 7.
All right. We'll see. Oh, here we go. There's we got all the Italian women coming together to help build his plane.
Sandra, cousin Mariana.
Giola, Valentina,
Oh, I see what
Sophia.
you're saying. These are the women who've entered the
workforce.
the industrial complex.
Because yes, the
Because
men are all away.
Have been elevated to more crucial roles.
Yes, one could say.
He has grown into a fine man.
Yes, I think the character is supposed to be in his mid to late 30s.
I hope this is not an offensive question. Is his hair meant to be a toupee?
No.
It reads as a toupee.
Yeah, because of the way it stands on his head, but
Well, and I
it
guess
kind of
because he
goes
is a
down the
pig.
back a little bit.
Okay, okay.
So you see like a. Yes, it definitely is real. I mean, it doesn't. How could it be offensive? He's a fictional character.
I don't want to offend someone you're close to.
Oh, Porco.
Yeah, he's clearly someone you admire.
I
I'm
guess
not trying to tear down your heroes today.
what's interesting is, even though I have a real terrible disposition towards commercial aviation, flying, I should say,
Right.
movies about people who love to fly tend to be great. Seeing the act of flying in a movie is
Oh,
very
absolutely.
exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Because you have this visceral sense of what they're getting out of it without actually you being in the dangerous position of
100%.
10,000 feet in the air,
100%.
going Mach 10.
throw a camera in there and let me live vicariously through a fictional character
Right.
or a real character.
Yes, that's true. But most recently, of course, Top Gun, Maverick.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Devotion,
That did come out a little bit later.
the other Glenn Campbell film.
The other Glenn, was that his
Not
name? Glenn
Campbell.
Powell.
Glenn Powell, thank you.
I think it's Glenn Powell.
It is Glenn Powell. It's not Glenn Campbell.
The other Glenn Powell
The other
flying
Glenn Powell
movie.
aviation film of 2022.
Yes, and doesn't that also have a...
It has Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors is in
Year,
it.
it's the year of Jonathan Majors.
I guess so. Do you want to talk about Creed?
Sure. I mean, I don't have much to say on it aside from the fact, two facts, I guess. One, it has completely turned me around on Jonathan Majors, an actor up to this point who I thought was, to be honest, a little overrated, based on my viewing of Last Black Man in San Francisco, and Lovecraft Country, and
Yes.
the Loki TV show. I thought he was a little overrated. But
He's in the Loki TV show?
He is in the Loki TV show.
As a god of some kind?
Kang the Conqueror.
Oh,
Some version
oh
of Kang
no,
the
yeah, I
Conqueror.
know the character, yes.
Yeah, he plays, and I guess he's going to play him again in.
Yes, that's
oh,
a pretty-
yeah, he
that's a-
plays him in Ant-Man. which I
Yeah.
haven't seen.
It's a pretty big character.
Yeah,
He's definitely going to
Um,
be involved in more of the...
and more of the
Not that
stuff.
I care, but I remember from the comic books, Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
That's a pretty big...
You have good Marvel comic knowledge.
Here's the thing. I'm one of those very, very rare, at least these days, where I grew up reading comic books, and I never at one point had the desire to see them turn into live-action movies.
That is a very rare, rare subset. That's true.
I remember reading the Civil War comics as a kid, and the Iron Man stuff, and Captain America, and Spider-Man, and thinking, no, this won't get better than this.
Fair enough.
Because Alan Moore understood it best because he really did make them with the form in mind. But there are certain things that, even though you could argue that comic books are oftentimes, they look at least like storyboards
Yeah, they're
with text.
as far as other mediums go, they're the most cinematic.
Yes,
Yeah.
in a very obvious way. At the same time, comic books aren't, first of all, not that long. And so, and also they, there are certain things you can get away with in comic books just by the nature of the form that in a movie just feels unrealistic or not as
Ridiculous,
engaging.
yeah.
And so, for example, the Watchmen adaptation
Right.
is a great example of the good and bad stuff of comic book adaptations in one movie. In
Agreed.
that it is as faithful as you can get,
Except
almost
for the conclusion.
yes, as far as like
Right.
shot to shot,
Exactly.
It's
Pulled frames. Yeah.
pulled frames from the comic book, and at the same time, I'm watching it thinking this is just like overstuffed. This is too much. It doesn't need all this, and it doesn't quite match the
Doesn't
tone.
quite work as a movie.
Yeah, the tone is not quite right.
Sure.
But you also couldn't do this in a more exciting way otherwise. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's a good example of what's good and bad about comic book adaptations when they're that direct too.
But point being, Jonathan Majors completely flipped on him.
Yeah, he's a good
I
actor.
think he's a very talented actor after watching him in Creed. I was very impressed.
And what was the other
And
thing?
then the
you took
second
away?
thing is just that it's a rare instance where, like, boxing movies as a general rule I think are kind of made or won or lost, pun intended, in their final boxing sequences.
Yeah, the
And
final
I-
fight usually.
The final fight, yes. And I would say that's the only part of Creed 3 that didn't work for me, was the final fight. So it's funny because I'm like, well, the movie was very good except for that one part. But it's kind
climax
of
of the
kind of
film.
a linchpin for the movie.
Yeah.
So I guess it lands somewhere at like a B- overall, although it only because of that one section.
Wherever you fly, you're still a pig.
Thanks, Ferrarin.
Ferrarin, yes.
Ferrarin.
I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. But we just missed the line where he says, "I'd rather be a pig than a fascist."
I see.
Because it's in this
Because
scene.
of the cartoon with the pig.
Yeah, well, no, because that guy works for the Italian Air Force, and he's trying to tell Porco, the government's after you because they don't like your illegal flying, and if you just join the Air Force, I can get you a job and you'll be fine.
Walk the party line.
And then Porco's like, I'd rather be a pig than a fascist.
It's badass.
Truly badass. And there's a little chase coming up between him and the black men, the men in the black suits, I should say,
Okay.
or the brown.
Men in Black.
Yeah, well, the brown suits, the brown shirts. That was the term for them at the time, the brown shirts.
I see.
There was another movie that came out recently that we both saw. Finally, I saw it. That I don't know why you're looking at me like that.
I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Well, it's a film you had wanted me to see for some time, and now.
And you've had some time to sit with it since seeing it.
And I haven't really thought about it since,
Son of a bitch.
which means that now is a good time to flesh it out
yes,
because
let's
it'll
go.
come to me. So the movie I'm referring to, of course, is a film by the name of Knock at the Cabin, the latest M. Night Shyamalan film, the latest entry into the M. Night Shyamalan canon, lore, world.
Yes.
Obviously, there's necessarily no connection to the other films, but
Starring one of your
Dave
well-loved actors.
Dave Bautista. That's not how you say it, but I say it like that. Dave Bautista. I love him. God bless the man. And a good cast altogether. I don't know all the actors by name, but
Sure.
they're the kind where, I've seen you in that other thing.
Yeah.
I remember you from this thing. So I guess overall, before getting into more specifics, overall, just a shallow kind of
hot
critical appreciation of the film. I thought it was very good. I thought it was even though I hate to rank things because I think it's a really stupid, meaningless way of.
That's so not true. You love to rank things.
No, I hate to. Now he's shaking his head at me, folks. He doesn't. He knows better than to trust me.
The number of times you've said to me like, "Oh, that's probably my 7th favorite."
That was
Prince
one
album."
time. That was one time, like 5-6 years ago. Whenever you got married, however long ago that was.
The ranking system is prevalent in your life. But carry on.
As a way of critiquing other people's work, and certainly as a way of describing it to other people, ranked lists don't really do anything. They don't. They're not very good at that. But obviously, on a very just superficial level of comparing it to other things people have seen, right?
Yes.
There, you can say, "Oh, well, I just prefer this to that," and that's a way of describing oneself's taste. So, in that sense, I liked it more than, say, the last few films he's done. I liked it more than Old, which I did like. I liked Joel very much. And I liked it more than Glass or Split.
You liked it more than Split?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a linear move upwards in quality. It's not to me, it's not better than his best work, which is
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water, or I would say Unbreakable is up there too. It's not better than Unbreakable. But it's pretty damn good. That's a superficial kind of take on it.
Sure.
It's not a masterpiece,
Unfortunately, it is not.
but that doesn't mean that
I
it
wanted
isn't.
a masterpiece. I didn't receive it.
It doesn't mean it's not a high quality film. Just
I think
because
it's some of his best filmmaking in a while.
some things don't need to be a masterpiece for you to like them. I know that's a shocking take, but you can like things that are just very good.
That's true. Or just fine, even.
Well, I think it's better than fine.
I agree that it's better than fine.
But you seem to have more problems with it than I do. So maybe we should start from there as to what your issues with the film are, because I think you do have some.
I definitely have issues with it. I feel as though it has a lot of lost opportunities I think the most interesting area to explore in it, which may be, because of where I'm coming from, is the theological standpoint of
Right.
a God, exploring what it means in modern times to have a deity that demands a sacrifice.
Yes.
And I don't think it plays with that idea at all,
You're right.
where its source material goes to some very interesting places with that concept.
Without going too deep in it, just realizing I watched the whole film and no one point did I make the connection to, say, the story of Abraham.
Right.
It never occurred to me, even
Right.
though that's the obvious connection. And maybe one of our more Catholic listeners would say, "You idiot!" Of course,
Sure.
I made the connection instinctively, but I don't. There's nothing to suggest it other than the obvious, just the setup of the story.
Right.
But the problem with that, of course, becomes the story itself does not deposit that is a reality until the last 20 minutes.
Right.
The point of the first seemingly half or 2/3 is whether or not it's really a thing.
Right. Again, yeah, and it feels to me as though it felt as though, Shyamalan, knowing his reputation and expectation for twisty-turvy plots,
Uh-huh.
it feels like a very long and deliberate
Delay to...
misdirect, I guess.
Yes.
In
Sure.
that, it ultimately plays out as a very straightforward concept.
Yes, it does. There's no question of...
There are no revelations really throughout the film beyond what you already saw in the trailers before seeing the film.
Exactly. There's never any kind of... It's not like the movie ends and you think, well, was it real or wasn't it? No. The movie
It makes it very explicit which direction.
gives
it's
its
going.
hand in one direction and
Yeah.
says, no, this happened. This was a
Exactly.
real thing. Which means, for me, the pleasure of, in theory, watching it a second time, which I'm sure I will at some point,
Yes.
is the first time you're watching it, you're on the family side.
Right.
Because you think that they are essentially being threatened by just a deliberately hostile force, a cult of some kind, or something to that degree.
Right.
And up until it becomes very evident that that's not what they are,
Right. You are with them, and that no quarter should be given.
right, and now watching it the second time, knowing that these people are telling the truth, part of you're probably going to lean more towards them because they're just doing what they know they need to do to save the world, which is, which again, I would like to see it again a second time to know how that would change the viewing of it. That most Shyamalan films, by the nature of their twists, but also just by the nature of him being a good filmmaker, I think they do reward multiple viewings. There are
That's
things you
true.
notice
That's true.
the second or third time that you didn't notice the first time. Go ahead.
To that end, did you make any thematic connection with the what are they collecting, crickets or lightning bugs or
Crickets.
crickets? Because he certainly focuses on macro cricket shots
Well, that's the most.
throughout the film.
Well,
I don't know if I'm supposed to read anything into that.
Other than there might be more to it than I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
but
what way did it connect?
I simply, from the moment the movie started, I thought, knowing what the story was going to be, I thought, okay, so the crickets are just kind of a superficial. There may be more to it, of course, but it was just a kind of metaphor for how these crickets in the jar are very much like the people in that house, in that cabin, in that they are essentially being used by something outside of their bubble in order to do something specific.
Sure.
Right? They are the people in the jar, and God is essentially, or whatever ultimate force it is kind of like playing with them, essentially. Because you also have to think, it might be an interesting thing to think about the second time, which is probably more, as you said in the book, than the film, what God would require this of you.
Exactly.
And so that metaphor of she's just putting these crickets in a jar for her own amusement, that's the closest the movie comes to ever saying something like, well, it's kind of like the whole situation they're in, because why does that need to happen?
It's all just a lark.
It's an interesting idea, and you read the book.
I have not read the book. My sister, who's a voracious reader, read the book.
Oh, I see.
Broke it down for me, and she and my father and myself had a vigorous debate around the contents of the book. But I have not read it.
Against the film?
No,
Just the book in general.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
I see.
She was talking about reading it, and my father being a Lutheran pastor, she was talking about the theology of it, and the three of us got into a conversation about our different takes on that.
It does sound stimulating.
Yeah, I found it more thought provoking.
Right. Well, I feel like there's more I want to say about it, but there's... So, M. Night, the obvious enjoyment of the film is that it's a supernatural thriller.
Right.
Like all of M. Night's, or most of M. Night's films, right? It's like The Sixth Sense, it's like Unbreakable, in that there's the layer of suspense, an element of danger, and then also there happens to be a spiritual aspect to the film.
Surreal things are happening.
I wouldn't even say surreal. I would say mystical would be the
Sure.
word, because surreal implies a certain kind of
Break from reality.
a psychological, unconscious, dreamlike thing, and his films are pretty literal.
Especially this one.
And also, it tends to be more just that there is a god in his movies. There's some supernatural force that's bigger than humans.
Right.
And so, And I do think he's one of those filmmakers who works best when he's dealing with spirituality.
And that's yeah. See, that's I guess what one of the perhaps things that I came with an expectation that hurt my
There would be
enjoyment
more of that.
is that I feel like he's a filmmaker who, in many of his other works, has had some really interesting meditations on humanity's relationship with a deity,
Right.
and I did not feel there was anything particularly interesting he said in this movie
Right.
on that topic.
Now, at the same time, there is nothing wrong with just making a straightforward thriller.
Certainly not.
If you have nothing more interesting to say.
Certainly not.
But-
And yeah, not trying to do a twist just because it's your reputation.
Absolutely. This film is, it is terribly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the last few M. Night films haven't really been as twisty as he hasn't really done a real twist
Since
since
The Visit, I would say.
Yes, and yes, as far as his newer films.
Yeah.
And then before that, I would probably say The Village was the last time before that.
Yeah.
Because even stuff like The Happening, I don't know that the revelation of it's the trees is really a twist.
Right. I feel like people look for twists in his movies and insert them even when they're not there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's an entertaining film. It's very well done. It's a good story. It's a good yarn. It was fun. I watched it with my dad, and he thought it was great. He thought it was great. Thought it was great too. So we both enjoyed it.
Excellent.
And there's not much more I can say about it than that. Here's the thing: it was very enjoyable, and it certainly affected my mood for the rest of the day. You know,
In a positive, negative.
in a
or
positive
ambiguous
way. I
That's
definitely
good.
felt more. It was a kind of. I wouldn't say spiritually uplifted, but I definitely felt almost like it was a kind of catharsis watching the movie. Where at the end I thought, things aren't so bad. It's like
Okay.
that. It's like that scene at the very end where the girl telephones whomever she's talking to on the phone after all the doomsday stuff has ended, and she's like, "I love you. I just want
Yeah.
you to know I love you." That's the feeling you get when you watch the film, or at least I got, where I'm like, I'm just appreciative, I guess, a little bit more of the things I have right now, because the world is not over.
That's true.
I didn't have to kill
There's nothing cataclysmic that occurred.
my wife or husband to do it.
So there's I guess a fun little exercise. If you were in, let's say, to make it close to home, let's say you're with your mother and father, and you're in the scenario.
Yeah, and one of us has to die.
I mean, where do you land?
Well, I guess it goes without saying that they wouldn't want me dead, right? Because I'm the son.
Sure,
And
you got
you-
to carry on the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, would you go through with it or no? I
Oh,
guess it's
assuming
questionable.
assuming what? Assuming we're in the exact same situation as them.
Yeah, and you know the same things that they know.
I guess we probably wouldn't. We
Yeah,
would just think that they were crazy up until the end.
Yeah.
And then things started to really happening. Yeah, I don't know. I guess not. I guess the world would end. Good. Thank God I'm not in that situation. Can't trust me to save the world like that. Oh, this is the moment that we're missing. That's so beautiful, where we realize this is Porco as a child when he was a boy, like a human boy,
Okay.
and that was Gina on the little seaplane, and it was named the Adriano. That was the ship. That was the seaplane, his first one, and that's why her place is called the Adrian,
Beautiful.
because it's after that seaplane of his. And you realize the kind of romantic connection of the two, if it wasn't already a given.
Sure.
That
This
unspoken.
unspoken passion.
Yes, it is unspoken. At another point later in the film, she looks at him and says, because he tells her, "Take this girl home for me. I gotta go and divert these other planes to give you guys time." And she's like, "It's unfair how you keep doing this to me." And he doesn't say anything. He just kind of goes, "Yeah, well," and then flies off.
Brutal.
Yeah. It's one of those things, because on one hand, his real love is flying, and the other hand, he's a man pig. I don't think he feels like he can really settle down.
My real lady and my love is, what's the lyric? My real lady love is the sea, or
But my life, my
Thank
love,
you.
and my lady is a sea. Yeah.
there's Porco Rosso for you.
I had to sing the line to remember it, but yes.
I don't think I would be able to sleep in a plane. Like, it's obviously an open, like a Cessna plane.
Oh, like one of those personal, like two-flyer,
Exactly.
two-person seaters. Yeah, I
Doesn't
probably
seem
no,
like
of
a
course not.
comfortable spot to sleep.
How could you?
She was just resting.
Yeah, but it was it was on the water. It's
Even
not.
grounded, it's
Yeah?
not going to work for me.
Oh yeah. Well, she was more taking a nap.
That's
She
true.
was out of boredom.
Just taking a rest.
Yeah, it was out of more than anything else. She was waiting for parts or fuel for the plane.
The Pirates Federation.
Yes, the Pirates Federation, which linked up to defeat Porco, and but now he's back, baby. Now he's gonna track down that American pilot. And he's gonna give him what for?
Kick ass, take names.
Yeah. I feel like we ran out of things to say about this movie and in general.
I don't think so.
Oh no?
No.
Wow, it's gonna be a struggle.
We just got to find a new thread.
We lost with M. Night. I will say also one thing that I was thinking about with Shyamalan, just a random thing, because I've been reading quite a few more books lately. I've been trying to read more in general. And I've been reading a few Paulo Coelho novels, who's a Brazilian writer who's most well known for The Alchemist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he tends to write spiritually inclined works,
Okay.
right? There tends to be a very overt spiritual element to his books. And I think he is Catholic. Pretty sure he's like, even if it's like a New Age kind of Catholic, he's a Catholic. And so I oftentimes read his books, which I think are good. I think he's a good writer. But I do oftentimes get the sense that I'm being sold something, you know?
A little preachy?
A little bit. He'll just talk, he'll say things or have his character say things in a way where I think, well, who talks like that, though? That's not really something that a person would say unless they're a character in your book trying to preach a certain idea.
I see.
You know what I mean? And that always that rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And M. Night is the opposite in that I never feel like I'm being preached to, even though there are overt spiritual themes in his films.
I agree.
I never feel like I'm being sold something. Like he's trying to convince me, but don't you see? I'm like, no, I don't know.
Even when Mel Gibson is
As a priest, as a pastor, yeah.
Which,
That's a great.
he's definitely in his role, I think, trying to sell something, but I
Yeah.
don't think the film is.
No, yes, absolutely. Well, that's something else. All of his films are really there are two parts. They are really there's the genre aspect of it where it's like there's a ghost, there's the aliens, there's a demon, there's something,
Yeah.
and then there's the other aspect of it, which is this is actually like a drama
Right.
about that examines a person and a very specific
It's a
problem that
human
they have.
experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense is about a guy who's basically a ghost. We find out, but also it's about a marriage. Right.
Yeah.
It's about two people kind of falling away from each other, and one person's attempt to try and fix things. Right. That's what it's about, really. This one character who feels for some reason at some point my wife and I stopped learning how to not knowing how to talk to each other. That's what it's about. Unbreakable is about a guy who feels like he wasted his life, and so all of a sudden he gets superpowers and feels like he's special again.
Right.
Signs is about a guy who loses his faith
Right.
and then finds it again.
Exactly.
That's what they're all about, and that's what makes them interesting. Is that
I
the
agree.
supernatural stuff is really just there to kind of heighten the more grounded element of humans that we can relate to, because that's something that we've all felt at some point or will feel. That moment on the train at the beginning of Unbreakable where where he takes off the ring and he's talking to the woman next to him. It's like, yeah, I get it. I know this guy.
Yep.
I know what's going on here.
Seen that guy on a train or a plane or
Yeah.
a hotel bar before. Yep.
Something like that. And I guess that's the aspect that's probably worth examining with in the future with Knock at the Cabin, which is the thing because they feel so plugged in as part of a narrative
Yep.
that there probably is something else there that didn't quite land the first time.
Yeah. I'll
Which is that human
I'll agree
element
with
of what is it? Because he's not really asking those theological questions that you're talking about,
he's not.
but he's probably examining some kind of dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure if I were to look more just at the relationship of the two people
Yeah, the married
tied
couple.
to the chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably they're the only
Find
ones.
something more compelling in that
Yeah.
on a micro rather than macro scale.
Yes, but even then, they clearly love each other, and they're a very tight family unit. So there's no tension there. It's not like, oh well, I can't have faith in you because I know that you cheated on me, or you know what I mean. There's no real tension between them, except for that one of them is much more religious, and the other one is much more agnostic, atheistic, and practical and grounded.
One is
A cynic.
open to belief, and the other is not.
So, yeah. which is fine.
It was fun. That's how I'm like it. To me, it's his first okay film
Oh,
for me personally.
He's made
The rest
bad
of them have
movies.
been either good or bad.
but this is
Since
okay.
This one was fine. It was all right.
Yeah, I liked it more than you
It's,
did.
you never count the guy out though.
No, you can't. He's already working. The son of a bitch. He's moved on to another film studio.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's ditching Universal.
He's got now a new like a 6-picture contract with Warner Brothers.
That's
Well,
right.
like a first look
That's right.
kind of contract.
First right of refusal.
First right of refusal. Yeah, exactly. So, which is kind of funny because, as I understand it, the story goes that Christopher Nolan, who was with Warner Brothers for a while,
That's right.
was influenced to go to Universal because of M. Night talking to him about it.
That's right.
So now Christopher Nolan's at Universal,
He swooped,
and M.
swooped
Night's
on
going
in.
to Warner
It's like,
Brothers.
Hey, I hear you have an opening.
Oh, what a huckster!
Yeah, it's quite the twist.
He got him in the end.
You always get the twist.
They lost their one big studio director, so now they got to get another one.
That's right.
And they found him. He was. I wonder why. Who knows? I wonder why he left Universal.
Universal. Yeah, because I mean,
As far as I could tell,
seems like they've been very.
they've pretty much done every single
They've-
M. Night film since.
They've had pretty great faith in him. I think The Visit was their
The first one, yeah.
Their first
So pretty much
gamble,
the last.
so to speak.
Yeah, so the last 5 films have all been Universal films.
That's right.
He's never worked with Warner Brothers, has he? Because he was his first few films he did
Buena Vista.
Buena Vista, which was a Disney company,
Yep.
basically. So yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
I can't wait. He's already got another film he's working on that's supposed to come out, I think, next year.
Apparently, with Sixth Sense, which was the first major studio release for him, right?
No.
What was the one before that?
No, the one before that was a studio release. It was not that big of a success, obviously, but it was
Right.
called what was it called? Wide Awake or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
one with Rosie
That's right.
O'Donnell.
That's right. But apparently, the script reader, development executive, who read and said, "We need to have this Sixth Sense script. It's like the best script I've ever
Yeah.
read." And Shyamalan's condition was, "I want to direct
Yeah.
if you buy it," and so he made the deal that I'll make the deal with you. You can direct it. We're going to do it for a modest budget since you're directing it because no one knows you.
Correct.
And then I guess Bruce Willis had an agreement with the studio at large that he got to pick whatever he wanted to do for his next role. He
Yeah.
could read whatever script he wanted. And when he picked that he wanted to do Sixth Sense, the budget ballooned,
Of course it did.
of course. So the executive who, this may not be accurate, but I believe this is the case, was either forced to resign or fired or pushed out of the company for fucking it up, and then they sold the distribution rights to another studio or like split them with another studio. So someone really got screwed over on that first deal, despite it obviously being a monster success.
Right. I'm assuming he was probably, if this was happened, this had to have been before the film came out.
Right, exactly. While it
Yes.
was still in development.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's a shame.
It's not so different from the Rocky situation with the Rocky movies, where Stallone wrote the script for the first one,
Right.
and then his condition was that I want to star in this.
A number of studios were interested in the movie, but not him.
Because
correct?
he was an unknown actor at that
Right.
time. But yeah, he even says in interviews, I had written this and someone else had come along and played the part, I would have felt real bad about it. And it became a success, I would have felt awful about that because it was something he wanted to play. He wrote it for himself.
And it launched a damn successful career.
Yeah, those Rocky films are interesting in that they are about Stallone to a certain degree, in the sense that they mirror his career. All right, like that first Rocky movie, he's an unknown. He's not a well-known actor, and the
He's the
character
underdog.
and the character Rocky's just some guy in Philadelphia. He's a
Looking for a
nobody,
shot.
and then he gets his shot, and then Rocky 2 happens, which is the first one came out in 75, 76, and the second one was like 79, and so by then Stallone is a much bigger deal, and so and then Rocky 2 is about him taking the title, and then by the time of Rocky 3, which is 82, 83, 82 I think, now Rocky's like Stallone is actually like a movie star because he's done like First Blood at that point, and he's had other successes now besides the Rocky films, and so now he's actually a household name. And so in the third one, that's you watch him in that one, he's like Superman basically.
Right.
And then, of course, it gets to the point of over the top with 85's Rocky IV, where he takes on the Soviet
The
Union.
entire Soviet Union.
Then 5 years pass, and by the time of Rocky
Saves America.
5 in 1990, it's already like, well, we're at the waning end of Stallone's kind of power as a leading man, as a top tier action star. It's interesting.
And then Balboa.
And then Balboa, which kind of relaunched Stallone as, oh, I'm back, baby.
You can't hold a good man
You
down.
can't hold a good man down. He's back for one more fight,
That's right.
which turned into 5 more films.
That's right.
Yeah. Quite terrific. That first one is actually quite an exceptional film.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
It holds up.
what's amazing about it is that it's not really a boxing movie. It is, because obviously it's
Right.
about him getting a shot at the title, but the vast majority of it is just following him around,
It's an underdog movie.
just in Philadelphia doing his daily routine and then trying to, get with Adrian.
Chase a dream, chase a woman.
Yeah, that's more. Most of the movie's really about the romance than it is about anything else. And Adrian and Rocky both kind of like blossoming and becoming their own people, right?
Right.
That's why the movie ends not with him winning the fight, but with them embracing and saying, professing their love for each other.
That's right.
That's the real point.
The victory doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Except where it really counts.
because they have each other.
They've got each other.
It's a great movie.
It is a great
And then the second one, she gets a fucking coma, and then and then it goes off the rails. Like, jeez, this is gonna be one of those movies now.
And then she dies.
In between movies.
In between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
5 and Balboa. Yeah.
We can call it Rocky 6.
Let's call it
It
Rocky
really
6.
is Rocky 6. It's Rocky 6.
It is Rocky 6.
But yeah, she dies in between movies. And the reason she dies, of course, is only because Talia Shire, the actress, just didn't want to come back for another one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was alive.
It's a shame.
She was like, I don't want to do another one. Whatever. Maybe she wasn't going to get paid enough, or maybe she just thought, I'm tired of this character.
I've run through the course on
I've
this
done
franchise.
5 of these.
That
either,
is fair.
You couldn't blame her either way.
That is fair.
And so he just kind of wrote it that she dies. Which also helps, honestly, it does help the film. It adds another level of something
Absolutely.
that it wouldn't have been there if she was there, right? A level of tragedy, like, oh, the woman that he fought for is now gone. So what else has he got to live for, right?
He's just wasting away his last
Yeah,
years
that's
until
right.
he finds another purpose.
Exactly.
Sure.
And that's what the movie's about. The movie's about kind of rediscovering that feeling, or feeling like you have something left in you to contribute, regardless of what you've lived and how you've lived more of your life than you're going to. This is a great part of the film. Of
It's
Porco Rosso.
His wingman.
Well, we're in a flashback now, where we're back during the war. Well,
Okay.
this is World War One, I believe. This is back during World War One. And what are you doing?
I'm estimating if this battery is going to make it through.
Well,
I guess we'll find out.
Jesus.
We're at, I guess less than 1 bar. So, fingers crossed, buddy.
Oh man, wouldn't it be great if it's? No, it wouldn't be great. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Do you want to splice 2 together and have me change out the battery? Or you want to just roll the dice?
We can roll the dice if you think it's worth it.
Sure, let's roll the dice.
These don't have to be 1-to-1. We do it that way for our own sake, but in reality,
We'll get what we can get.
it ends when it ends. And if it stops working, then and we have 5 minutes left, then we'll just add those 5 minutes at the end.
There you go. Works.
But yeah, it's a great part of the film.
So it's a flashback about his wingman.
Well, it's a flashback about a story of him during the war. That she just wants him to tell her a story so she can
Okay.
go to bed. And so now he's describing how he was in a dogfight with a bunch of these other pilots, and he was the last one alive, but he was unconscious, and he comes to, and we get to this part, which is the most wonderful sequence in the film, where he essentially, it's not quite heaven, it's not quite the afterlife or anything, but he sees something pretty remarkable here at this point, as you
His plane seems to be stalling out,
but he's above the clouds.
and yet he floats.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like he's over a sea, right? A sea of clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The cloud ocean. He's going to see something beyond
oh yes,
what this marvel is. All right.
a world above the
World
clouds.
above the clouds. It's funny that he wears both sunglasses and has the goggles.
Yes, I don't.
He's got to double down on that.
Well, the goggles.
Vision protection.
Yes,
I
the
guess.
sunglasses obviously are just for the sun, but the goggles are to keep things out of his eyes.
Sure.
When he's flying really
He's gotta
fucking
have
fast.
both, I guess.
But who knows? Maybe pigs have terrible eyesight.
That would make sense.
Maybe I don't know how pigs see things.
Yeah, I didn't go to school for that.
There we go. Those are his He sees all the other pilots from the dogfight, his friends, his enemies, they're all floating. Berlini, his best friend, his wingman.
So that does feel heavenish then.
Wait, we haven't seen the thick of it. They're floating above him. No, we're just describing what we're seeing. That's just fine. They're floating above him, flying above this world in the clouds, and
Pristine.
and where are they going?
Stop.
Yes, he calls out to them, but they don't listen. They're going up to this huge kind of ring in the sky,
Yes.
but it's actually a contrail of many other ships, of many other seaplanes.
You might say a great big convoy.
Yes, a great big convoy in the sky of presumably other seaplanes that have perished and pilots who have perished.
These are fallen pilots.
Yes, presumably. And there's a huge contrail in the sky of just those. And
now he's returning. I see.
It's not his time yet.
He's not ready yet.
He's not. He can't join them up in the great trail in the sky.
So he's a human at this point in the
Yes, in the flashback, he is still a human.
story as well. Okay.
It's never
It's
explained.
never explained how he came to be a man
No.
pig. That's fine.
Gina at one point says something about a curse. She says that when that curse was put on you, and you go, did someone specifically put that curse on him? Was it just a thing that happened? We don't know.
I guess also a Miyazaki theme, turning humans into pigs.
Yes, he does that in Spirited Away.
Does that in Spirited Away as well.
I never did quite rank Miyazaki's films.
I thought you didn't like ranking.
Do you want me to do it or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I got nothing better to say.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Rank your
Jesus
Miyazaki
fucking
films.
Christ, man. Everything's got to be a goddamn argument with this guy. Can't just let it lie. Anyway, so yeah, this and The Wind Rises are the two best ones.
Those are your top selects.
Top selects. After that, well, none of them are that good. Honestly, he's not that great of a director, I think. He's got these two great ones, and the rest are just kind of like, okay, that was pretty good.
That's not a ranking.
Well, yeah.
That's just a criticism of his other work.
I know. I'm trying to think now what would be like the closest thing to a third. Maybe Totoro.
Okay.
Maybe Totoro.
I've
That
never
one's
seen Totoro
that one's
either.
pleasant. And it's
That's the most recent? Or?
no. The Wind Rises is the most recent. Totoro's from the 80s, I think.
Oh,
It's
really?
like 88.
Okay,
It's
early.
one of his much.
Got it.
I think it's maybe his third or fourth film.
Got it.
But it's nice. It's cute. You know, they got the big Totoro thing, and the kids love him. And then there's the cat bus. You know the cat bus.
No.
Oh, there's a cat bus.
There's a cat bus?
There's a bus that is actually a cat.
It is a cat.
It is a
not
cat.
full
It's
of cats.
no. It's a living cat that's also a bus.
I would not ride that bus.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because so imagine a cat, but then imagine a bus protruding from his back, but it's like a part of his skin, so it's got cat fur and everything.
I don't like it.
Yeah, so it's a cat bus, and then the way it's like he morphs, and that's how the door opens. His skin goes, wham,
I don't care for that at all.
and then they step inside him and stay on the bus.
If I'm being honest, that doesn't appeal to me in the
It's like
least.
body horror, isn't it?
It is.
It's something.
Cronenberg, hold,
Yeah.
hold his beer.
Yeah. Well, Cronenberg, eat your heart out, Cronenberg.
That's right.
There's a real body horror filmmaker in town. His name is Miyazaki. But it's a fun movie. It's also there's another recurring theme in his work of people getting sick with tuberculosis,
Oh yeah.
consumption, or something like that. Because in The Wind Rises, the main character's wife in real life she's sick for most of her life because of consumption. She doesn't live that long. And then it's implied in Totoro as well that the family, which is two girls and a father, and there is a mother who shows up eventually, but they moved there to this kind of rural part of Japan, specifically to be closer to the mother who is in a kind of not hospice, but like a country kind of center to get well. I don't know what the word for that is.
Okay.
It's not a hospital. It's a place for people with a specific to treat people with a specific problem.
Okay.
A treatment center, we'll
A
say.
sanitarium?
Yes, it's like a sanitarium, and they go visit her sometimes, and it's
Okay.
implied that she clearly has like something like that,
I
like
see.
consumption, as I'll call it. And so that's a recurring thing: flying and consumption.
And a couple times of man pigs.
Yes, and people they turn into pigs, and he's a man pig. That's a little different.
It is a little different. They are both curses, though,
They are curses.
apparently.
So after Totoro, I don't know what I put after Totoro. I'm not quite sure. What do you? I don't know. What do you like?
I think Kiki's Delivery Service is still.
Yeah, I guess I'd
But I
put-
mean, I've
yeah.
only seen 3 of them.
Yeah.
I guess now, well, technically 4, but again, this is a one that has been many years dormant in my viewing history.
Yeah, I know which one I think is probably one of the worst.
There you go. You can start from the bottom.
Is Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh yeah, I don't really like that one either.
That one's not good because it was one of those movies where I think I fell asleep for maybe 10, 20 minutes in the middle, and I woke up and nothing happened. It was like, what? I didn't miss anything.
Unaffected.
Yeah, I didn't miss a goddamn thing. The exact same thing is happening. What? Why?
Bad pacing.
Bad pacing. He's got an obsession, I think, also with European settings, doesn't he?
That's true.
He loves Italy in this. There's Italy in this movie, and even in the movie about the Japanese engineer, one of his idols is an Italian
Oh yeah.
aeronautical pilot type, and we're in his dreams. He's in Italy a lot, and of course in Howl's Moving Castle, it's like Austria or Germany, some Central European nation. Kiki's Delivery Service also, right? It's also European. Yeah, this guy. He's got something with the. I don't know. Maybe he just likes the architecture or something. He finds it all very romantic. Maybe, but okay. What else? What else did he do? Castle in the Sky. Yeah, I guess I'd put that one up there. I guess that'd be the next one.
That's high-ish.
That's after Totoro, maybe Kiki. It's around the same level as Kiki. Yeah.
Okay. Spirited Away, I think, is usually people's first pick. Where does that rank for you?
Not really any flying in that movie.
There's very little flying.
That I can. Yeah, there's
the
one.
dragon.
The guy who turns into a dragon. Yes,
Yeah.
that's about it. And she flies on him at one point.
She does ride him.
So it's above. I'll put it above Howl's Moving Castle.
Right.
I'll put it above Ponyo. No flying in Ponyo. That's a water bitch.
Not a damn bit of flying.
So that's the worst one.
Disappointing.
That and Howl's are like at the bottom.
Didn't even meet the minimum standard.
So yeah, I guess I'd put Spirited Away above those at least. I guess Princess Mononoke also is around the same for me.
Okay.
Spirited Away. I
You
think.
just got a lot of middling ones here, my friend.
Yeah, it really is just. It's like there's 1, 2, then there's 5. It's everything. There's 1, 2, and then everything is ranked 5 for like 7 movies.
Stuffed all together.
And then there's 13. It's like the
Sure,
bottom
sure,
2
sure.
are just both 13.
There's a 7-way tie or something.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, most of them just weren't that impressive to watch.
Some good dog fighting.
This again in this one there is
Yeah.
because this is essentially the boxing match at the end of the film is the dogfight.
Yeah. That's the boxing match of the flying movie.
Yeah, and it doesn't disappoint. You watch it and it's fun and exciting. You think who's gonna win? Because I don't know if there's a parlay that happened that you probably weren't paying attention to because we've been talking.
I did miss that. A parlay?
Well, where basically he makes a deal with the pirates.
There's stakes here.
There's stakes here. There are stakes. Basically, the stakes are, to see which one of them is. He's representing the Pirate Federation on their
Understood.
behalf, but I don't even think they really care that much, honestly, at this point.
Single combat?
Yeah, they're making money off the bets anyway. You know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
it's just a thing they're hosting now, and they were won over by the girl. I forget her name, but the girl who joins them, they were kind of won over by her charm and moxie. Everyone loves her.
See?
And so what happens is he agrees to fight the American one last time. They agree to have a dogfight. And the stakes are if Porca wins, that the guy should pay for all of his repairs that he had to do because he couldn't even afford them at the time when he did them. He has to pay back the guy in Milan. And so he pays for essentially all the changes and repairs, which is quite a bit of money. But if the American wins, then he gets her hand in marriage.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I would ask for more if I were Porco. That seems like what you should just request by standard.
Well, at one point,
Go through insurance,
because
at
she's the
least.
one who essentially sets up the parlay in this earlier scene, and then she says afterwards when they're gone, she's like, "Oh, Porco, we screwed up. We made a mistake." It was like, "What? We should have asked for more money."
Should ask for more. Damages, damn it. The emotional distress of being gunned down.
Yeah. So that's but yeah, those are the stakes. Either he ends up in debt and she's married, or he, gets his plane paid off and she does not have to marry the American.
High stakes.
High stakes, people.
It's not a very engaging airfare film.
I don't know what.
The Aeronauts.
The Aeronauts.
That the one about like the hot air balloon where they're trying to.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Don't bother, I guess. Seems like the kind of thing I would like. Pretty.
Kind of around the world in
bland.
80 days.
Yeah, very actually, but like without Jackie Chan, which is
Or without
the only reason that film works.
around the world in 80 days part.
Or the
actual
crossing the road.
tension, the actual stakes of the ticking, the clock.
Or the bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're just flying in a hot air balloon.
Yeah, they're testing the stratosphere or something. They're like,
Is it the stratosphere? Is it the ionosphere, brother?
they're scientists, but yeah, you know, they kind of run out of things to do in the hot air balloon rather quickly, so it doesn't make much of a 90-minute film.
What's interesting, so going back to the Rocky thing, is I was thinking about this the other day, and there's no guarantee this happening, but many people have been talking about for quite some time now how The Rock may go into politics at some point.
Okay,
Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, and he's said no, I want to focus on raising my family and being, them. But it seems, but I hear that and think that's not a no.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, The Rock is one of the biggest. Dwayne Johnson. And people don't really call him The Rock anymore, unless you remember him being The Rock.
I think people still call him The Rock.
Only people who remember him being The Rock. Young
Sure.
people, younger than us, probably don't know who the fuck The Rock is because it's just Dwayne Johnson.
Sure.
They didn't watch him wrestle. So, thinking about it, I thought, well, why? He's one of the biggest movie stars ever. And why is he one of the biggest movie stars ever? Well, because he was a big deal in pro wrestling when pro wrestling was actually something people watched in this country. Like when it was culturally a phenomenon.
Right.
The Rock was one of the biggest stars that came out of it. And why did that happen? Well, because at one point pro wrestling was a really big fucking deal for like a good 10-year, 15-year period in America. And why was that? Well, it starts really with WWF and the whole WrestleMania thing. It became a spectacle, a big event. And why did that happen? Well, because Vince McMahon kind of formed the WWF company, which became an international kind of corporation. Like, why did that happen? Because it used to be a regional territorial thing. That was the WWF. But then Hulk Hogan appears in Rocky 3. And he becomes a big star.
Okay.
And then he becomes a big star, and that translates to he wasn't working for WWF at the time. He had left the company because Vince McMahon Sr. said, "If you're going to do that movie, I don't want you involved in pro wrestling. I don't want any of that hokey shit involved in what we do." Junior, who was the real kind of money maker in that family, the real kind of businessman,
Sure.
said, "No. Here's what we'll do. We're going to bring." He came back after working for I think AWA at a time, which is a different territorial promotion, and so they form a big kind of like a company where Hulk Hogan was the star. He became the star of WWF, and through that, they got Saturday Night Main Event, which was a televised program that I think was on NBC. I think the highest, most watched episode of that was like 30 million people.
Okay.
It was a rematch between him and Andre the Giant. And through that, they got the first WrestleMania, which had celebrity guest stars like Mr. T, who was in the first ever WrestleMania main event.
Pitying the Fool, as he was.
Teamed up with Hulk Hogan, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Or he was I think he was. It's been a while, but I think he was tag team with Hulk Hogan against Roddy Piper and was it Paul Orndorff? I could be wrong. But all this to say that when you look at the linear timeline of things and how there is a one-to-one connection between these things getting popular because of their connections. So I think if Rock ever became president, you could trace the origin of that even being a possibility to Rocky 3.
I don't have any facts to contradict you, so I'm going to say fascinating.
So Sylvester Stallone
would be responsible
for The Rock
Rock's
becoming president.
political career.
Correct.
Were it to happen.
Were it to happen.
Intriguing.
Yeah. It's fascinating more than if nothing else than to look at how things are all connected to each other and one thing leads to another. And I thought about it. I thought, no, that tracks. That does track. That's actually how things happened.
I wonder how
If
Stallone
Hulk Hogan had never
would
been in
feel.
Rocky 3, he would never have been as big of a deal as he became, which means WWF would not have been as big a company as it
No,
became.
I follow your
There would not
logic,
have been
yeah.
a rock and wrestling connection where you had people like Lou Albano appearing in Cyndi Lauper music videos, and you had people like Ray Charles doing like the opening, the Star Spangled Banner at WrestleMania 3. Like all this stuff that happened directly because of Hulk Hogan becoming a big deal after Rocky 3.
Is it Stone Cold Steve Austin who ended up in politics as well?
No.
Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of not Bobby the Brain. You're thinking of Jesse the Body Ventura.
Ventura. Yes, thank you.
He became, was it mayor of a place? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or governor? Governor.
Really?
Governor.
Really? Of a state?
I believe so. I'm
That's-
going to Google it.
That's insane.
I want to say New Jersey because that is what makes sense to my head, but that may not
I
be
think
true.
I think it's Colorado. So like he's in some Midwestern state. He became a mayor somewhere, I thought. That's what I
I'm
assume.
looking it up.
He's looking it up. He wouldn't be the only one, but that's probably...
Governor of Minnesota. Yep,
Yep,
there you go.
that's right.
Former governor of Minnesota.
Look at that.
So I guess,
There's hope for us all.
the path has been laid.
It has. And again, he wouldn't be the first...
The body ran so
he
that
would not even be the
Rock
first...
Could, or walked so the Rock could run. Yeah,
Yes. First of all, he wouldn't be the first actor to become president, nor would he be the first person involved in pro wrestling to become president. When you consider that at WrestleMania, was it 22 or something like that? One of the main event matches was a match between Vince McMahon, well, sponsored by Vince McMahon, and Donald Trump,
Oh, yeah?
where their respective fighters fought on their behalf, and it ended with Donald beating Vince McMahon, but then also Stone Cold Steve Austin giving him a stunner anyway,
Okay.
because he was, I think, the special guest referee or something
But-
like that.
Trump is not in the ring.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is?
He's in the ring at one point. He takes a stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Funny.
So one could say,
So what you're trying to tell me is what I'm hearing from you.
yeah.
Logan Paul in 2032.
Yes, it is a possibility. Now that Logan Paul is in pro wrestling, there's a very distinct chance he could become our next president.
Oh, that's a bleak world.
It's really unfortunate how, in every other aspect of life, he seems like a genuinely scummy person.
Truly.
But in the ring,
You can't deny that
he's a dynamite.
the appeal is a heel.
And he's just really good at it.
Yeah, no,
He's
he's
athletic.
He's athletically impressive. I agree.
And it's like, damn.
I don't think he's a good boxer, though.
Well, isn't that his brother, Jake Paul?
Is that Jake Paul? Well, whichever one.
They're both into...
The Paul.
Yeah, I
that
think...
does boxing.
I guess it could be Logan. One of them did... They both did
I thought
something
he did,
athletic.
He did something with Floyd Mayweather, right? The older one.
Yes,
Logan.
there was there was.
That was
a
bullshit.
boxing fight where I think did Mayweather win by split decision?
No, I think Paul won by split decision.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, either way, they both got a shit ton of money.
truly.
That's really all that mattered.
I hate the pig, but I like you. That's a good quote.
Yeah, it is.
That is a large sack of money. I'm surprised that he was able to get that quantity of repairs on credit for his plane.
Well, he did pay for a bit of it up front. He takes out essentially a lot of money from the bank,
I see.
and then gives it to the guy. But then the guy's like,
It's
money
not
has
gonna
lost a
cover it.
lot of its value at this point.
Sure.
It's like it's pretty much just like paper.
It's war times.
Yeah, essentially, and so it costs a lot more because of inflation.
Sure.
And
Oh yeah, there you go. You always do this. It's not fair. Oop.
sorry, off you go.
Devastating.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Their relationship is quite lovely. We're at the tail end of the film here, folks. There's oh yeah, she kissed
Ooh.
him. Oh, and then he gets
And
hit
then
by,
he gets knocked down.
by the plane.
He likes to blow hats off people's heads too.
Well, if you're flying,
Sure.
if there's
It's
wind,
inevitable.
things that, when you think about it, hats can be pretty impractical.
Absolutely.
There's nothing to say. We just agree on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Finally,
absolutely.
something we
Can
can
really just agree
really
on.
get on the same page about.
Yeah, hats. What is?
Hats, while appealing, can
Is-
be a real nuisance.
Here's an important moment.
Help me
he
draw
looks at
them
his
away.
face. Ah.
Oh,
Oh my God! Show me your face.
Is the curse broken?
Well, there's something else that we
Question
did
mark?
not see earlier in the film. There was one moment where where the girl is in bed and he's telling her the story, but she wakes up before he tells her the story, and she sees his face for a second, and it looks like he's a human, and then she kind of opens her eyes up again, and he's back to being
He's
a pig.
a pig once more.
Yeah. So maybe it's like the frog and the princess thing, where she kissed him and it lifted his curse.
Sure.
Perhaps.
He's proven himself in some way.
Yeah. It's definitely
through
kind
the
of
course of the film.
it's a romantic story. It's
So where is she being brought back to? Where is
To
this
Milan.
quote unquote regular world? I see, back to Milan.
back to where her family is and where the factory where they're working is.
It makes sense. I mean, girl can't keep volunteering to get married to people to settle a bet.
Yeah, although
not a
honestly,
healthy way to go
her
through
uncle,
life.
who was the short guy who ran the place, wasn't really opposed either. It was just like, yeah, you just got to get married sometime. It's just,
Not a good way to go through life. Oh, funny.
yeah, he became a movie star. Donald Curtis, that's the American's name.
A western / dinosaur film, apparently.
Yeah.
The combo we've all been waiting for.
And did Gina win her bet? That's our secret. Referring to her bet with Porco about him rendezvousing at her place. Would he ever actually land his ship at her home?
And that-
Into her secret garden.
Okay.
And that's how
And
it
thus
ends.
it concludes.
Yes.
Songs
Did Gina-
performed by Tokiko Kato.
Did Gina ever win her bet? That's our story. That's our little secret.
Cheeky.
It's beautiful. It's really wonderful.
What do you think?
Of what?
Did she win the bet? Did he win the bet?
It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want it to be. Whatever is more romantic to you, that's the story. That's where it goes.
Whatever heals your spirit. Oh, and our timing may be great here. I'm just now getting the low battery warning.
How long does it last once you get that warning?
I have no idea, but we might have enough time to get through the
We have
last
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Let's cross our fingers, I guess.
Oh boy.
And I hope that if it does die, it just saves the file before it dies.
Oh, it may not do that?
Might not do that.
That's really
Do you want
funny.
to cut our losses and end it 3 minutes early?
Well, we
Or do
can.
you want to roll the dice on these?
What I would rather. I mean, if you don't know for a fact if it'll save it or not.
I do not know for a fact that it will save it. I assume it will, but I cannot guarantee.
Well, this could just be another lost episode.
Okay, that sounds like rolling the dice to me.
Yeah, it does,
Okay.
doesn't it? It's flashing on the screen every few
It
seconds.
is flashing every few seconds.
Is it getting more? Is it flashing even more?
No, I think it's constant until it's done.
The tension in the room can
Trying-
be cut with a
Trying to
knife.
think, if I were designing it, I would design it to warn you with low battery with like 5 minutes. But I didn't design the product.
That's right.
unfortunately.
Maybe look it up
So
in the
who
time we
knows?
have left.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
no.
We'll take our chances.
So
I mean, we can always re-record with Porco Rosso. Think of all the new things we would have to say. I mean, not now,
I was about to say,
but at some point.
I certainly wouldn't feel like this was a waste of our time.
No, I never.
It's a beautiful. It's been a wonderful evening.
Yeah, we had Guinness, we had Don's.
Yeah, prior to
Porco
this, yes,
Rosso.
and then we had Porco Rosso.
It's been a full experience.
Well, assuming that we actually do this again next week, what would you like to see for our next episode?
I think it is time to queue up an episode of Columbo.
Columbo, baby.
We'll go a little off court because usually it's a film.
Yeah.
No reason it can't be a television episode, especially when said television episode runs the length of a feature film.
Right.
And you have been a long and ardent fan,
Of Columbo.
and I am a newly initiated enthusiast.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a lot of room there.
Yeah, Columbo's it's a great show.
Do you have an episode in mind that you think would be particularly well suited?
Well, I guess you've already seen it, but the Spielberg episode is great.
Legendary. Perfect.
Yeah, that would be a great one to show. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of great episodes of that first series. But yeah, I wanted something like that. We got like less than a minute left.
We can make it, I think. Don't jinx it, but I think
It's
we
like that
can
episode of
make
Seinfeld where
it.
they're running the car until the
That's
gas
right,
runs out.
until it's fully dead.
She needs a Kramer.
That's the weakness.
But I guess we should be winding down then.
I suppose so.
We have like 20
We got
seconds
20
left.
seconds here.
Well, 25
So thank you for joining us once again, loyal, faithful audience.
of 2.
This has been Background Noise with Isaac Carlson,
And me, Fabricio.
good pal. And there's a little stinger. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Flying off into...
Forever off into the beyond. What a beautiful note to end the film and the episode on right now.